Hello, Natalie. Thank you for allowing me to interview this time. First of all, could you please give us a brief introduction of you?
Yeah. So my name is Natalie. I'm from Seattle. I finished high school in 2023 and have been traveling and at home since then. I'm 19 now, almost 20, but I traveled last year around mostly Southeast Asia and Europe. And then this year I did a long distance hike, and now I'm in Japan currently and have been working at home, but I'm planning on heading to film school next year. And these past 2 years have been amazing, so I'm really glad I took the time off and was able to travel and meet so many people and see so many beautiful places.
That's nice. And what inspired you to start traveling abroad?
So I started traveling when I was, I traveled in the US growing up a little bit, nothing too far, but like Mexico and Canada. And then slowly going abroad. My mom took us on a trip to Europe when I was like in middle school maybe. And I think from there, and like being able to see the places through like photos and stories of others, and the internet does bridge the gap between places that are very far, because you're able to like learn about those places and see those places without going to them, but then you get interested in them. I think there's benefits and cons to that, because it's all like you feel like you might know a place even though you've never been there, which is beautiful, but then it does make the world a little bit smaller at the same time. But yeah, I think just from seeing people I loved travel and being able to travel from like very formative years in middle school and early high school, that I was able to travel around Europe a little bit. And then my older sister, she took a gap year, but it ended up being during COVID, so wasn't able to take her gap year really. She had to stay at home. But I had never really considered a gap year before seeing that she took one, and was interested in, I don't know, taking some time off to like, I knew that I was interested in film, but taking time off to learn more about the world. And I think education is a lot more than just going to a school and like a formal type of education. I think it's just as valuable to be able to talk to people, meet people who are from different cultures and places than your own, and get to know things firsthand. So going to places, seeing museums, seeing the sites. And then I really liked doing slow travel during last year, especially like volunteering at places and being able to do work exchanges type thing, where in exchange for food and accommodation I would volunteer for a place, and through that I met really amazing people and learned a lot of skills and tried many different jobs I never would have normally have done. And then through all that I was able to kind of work on my film and photo work as well, and got really inspired by a lot of the places I went to too. So yeah, there's a long answer, but
That's great. So this time you decided to visit Japan. What is the impression of the Japan?
I'm really glad I was able to come to Japan. It's a beautiful country, and I would say my impressions were that I was able to draw a lot of similarities to the other Asian countries I had been to before, because that was my frame of reference. Last year I was in like Vietnam and Thailand, Indonesia, Laos, Cambodia, and so in comparison to like maybe traveling to European countries or South American countries, I had the most comparisons to the other Southeast Asian countries I had been to. And the second I stepped out, I really like loved everything. That I think differences from America might be that everyone was much more calm and orderly. Everything kind of knew where it was supposed to go and had its place. And the people are, in comparison to America, sometimes much more maybe the people here can be a bit more stoic at times, and orderly, like more quiet, and I like it. It's a very peaceful environment, so I really appreciate it that it's like it's always peaceful wherever you go, and you're never too. I think oftentimes other places traveling, Southeast Asia included, you can get very like easily overstimulated by all the noises and everything. But here I didn't feel it at all. It felt nice even in the really busy places. It was always peaceful and calm, and I would say as well that I loved the food. The food was amazing. I think that's a big part of culture always, especially here, that it's such an art form to it. But Japan seems very rooted in a lot of traditions that it's held on to. It's a bit of a blend between like Eastern and Western. Japan can be a bit of a blend between like Eastern and Western cultures, and have adopted some practices from the West, but at the same time hold on very strongly to like ancient traditions, which is beautiful to see. And I would say that I'm trying to think of anything else. Yeah, I did a little bit of hitchhiking, and so my impression of the people then was that even if Japanese people seem a bit closed off at first or aren't exactly like outgoing, they're very kind. Everyone I met anyways was very kind and always willing to help out and always willing to go out of the way in order to help me, and is, yeah, just really big hearts, even though you have to kind of make the first move sometimes because people can be a bit more closed off. But then once you talk to them, everyone I met has been really amazing. So yeah.
Okay. So you said you tried hitchhike in Japan. So what made you decide to hitchhike? Were you scared at first?
I first hitchhiked in Ireland with some friends, and so that was kind of an easing into it a bit. We were just cheap and we didn't want to pay for trains, so we decided to hitchhike. And that experience in Ireland was amazing. Everyone was really nice. And I was with friends, so it was a lot less scary. And then I hitchhiked in the US a bit, and that was kind of by necessity because I did a long distance trail, and to get in out of these like remote places to hitchhike into food resupplies, to get out of like the mountains and get food in towns, you had to hitchhike. So I hitchhiked quite a bit this last year in the US. So those two experiences made me really fall in love with hitchhiking because of the people I had met and the experiences I had, because you talk to people you normally never would, like people who live really interesting lives. And here it was different because this is the first country I hitchhiked in that has a language barrier. So I think one of the reasons I love hitchhiking is getting to talk to people and get to know them and their stories. And here is a little different because it's all through a phone, so translate. I mean, some people did speak English, but most didn't. So it was kind of translating through the phone, and things definitely got lost in translation, but it was still really nice to meet people and see the kindness of the people who stopped for me. It's always something I love. It just like restores my faith in humanity to see how many people will stop and help me get to where I'm going. Like I had 2 people drive me way out of their way. I had maybe about like 10 rides or so for my time hitchhiking here, and it was mostly just to get from backpacking place to backpacking place. But there was like 2 people who drove me like way out of their way. Like one guy, he wasn't even going in the direction and drove me an hour way outside of his house. So it was very sweet, and just like the kindness people have. I think they're also interested in talking to someone who's hitchhiking and a foreigner. It's kind of unusual here, I know, because trains are like the easiest and fastest, and I was trying to save money, but I also wanted to talk to locals and have that experience too. As for being scared, I wouldn't say I was scared. Sometimes it can be a bit tiring to like stand and wait for a while, but I didn't really. If I stood and waited for a while, I just took the train, I think, and I didn't really have to wait that long ever. If I was set on hitchhiking, sometimes it's a matter of like you're in the wrong place, especially for figuring out like roads and things. Like you are in a place that doesn't even lead to where you're going because you don't understand how to get somewhere. But yeah, I think when I started hitchhiking, I was a little bit scared, but in Japan I wasn't scared. Maybe nervous to be solo and in a country with a language barrier to some extent, but then once I started doing it, I like you gradually build more confidence once it works out. So yeah, it was a really good experience, and I'm glad I did it.
That's good. So, what was the most unforgettable experience in the world trip?
Uncomfortable?
Unforgettable.
Oh, unforgettable. Okay. Oh, there's so many. I think a lot of the most like unforgettable memories I probably had. I was traveling with my best friend last year I was traveling with my best friend last year through Southeast Asia, and I think we had a lot of like memories that were just like, we should be in school right now according to the status quo, but we're here swimming in a waterfall in the middle of the day, or especially on the Pacific Crest Trail, which is the long distance trail I was hiking. Many people that were just like, would welcome me into their homes. Oh, there's so many. In Indonesia, I was, me and my friend took a day trip from this farm we were working on. It was like a coffee farm, and we took a day trip to the nearby town, and we were just looking at this beautiful church, just walking around. We had no plans where to stay. We were like, we'll figure it out. And this woman approached us and was like, what are you doing here? Because it's a random town, and not a lot of foreigners visited there. So we ended up talking, and she invited us into her home, beautiful home, and she let us stay for a couple days, and we stayed in touch. So that was amazing, just a stranger approaching us and inviting us into her home. And then, I don't know, just in Vietnam, like climbing, we did, I climbed back home, and we hadn't climbed in a while, but we did like free deep water soloing, which is where you're just above the water and you're rock climbing up this like rock that's slanted like this over the water. So it was like the most beautiful area ever. That's definitely unforgettable for sure. And I think a lot of moments on the Pacific Crest Trail too. Just the beauty of the mountains and the forest and the people out there too.
That's good. Yes. So, is there a country you would like to visit in the future? And is there anything you would like to try in your world trips in the future?
Japan, for sure. I would love to come out to Japan. I feel like I saw a good amount of the country, but there's so much more to explore. And I hope my sister moves here so that I can come back and visit her constantly, and visit you also. But I think there isn't a country that I went to that I wouldn't want to visit again. Some of the countries in Eastern Europe especially, I only saw specific parts of them. So most of the time in Europe I was in Eastern Europe, like Bulgaria and Romania. Would love to go back to both of those places. Ones that really stand out to me, I would say, are Indonesia, because each island has such a distinct culture, so I'd love to go back to Indonesia. I would like to explore more of France as well, like the south of France, which looks really beautiful. I was only in Paris, so I don't know how much that counts, but I would love to explore more there. I would say Vietnam as well. I loved Vietnam. I adored it. So going back there, and I did travel through the whole country, but pretty quickly. And so next time I would take like 3 months just to do, like, just to explore Vietnam, or longer even. And same for Indonesia. Malaysia I was in really briefly, but I would love to go back and explore more there too. So yeah, I would say I would go back to any of the places I went again. They were all really beautiful, beautiful people as well. And what was the second part of the question?
Second part of this question is that, is there anything you would like to try in your world trips in the future? Would you like to try?
Like a place to go to, or?
No, is there anything you would like to try something in the world trips? Like scuba diving, or like
okay.
skydiving?
I would say hitchhiking, honestly. Hitchhiking and backpacking, because I only really started hitchhiking when I was at the end of my like Europe trip, and then in the US this last year. But I would love to try it in different countries because I think it lets you get to know locals really well. And for most of my world trips I didn't hitchhike, so it gets you in situations you would never normally be in, and it's kind of roughing it and being like, where am I going to sleep tonight? But I think that's part of the fun of it, and while I'm young and have the energy to do it, I would like to do it more, and it gets you to meet a lot of people that have such big hearts and are really, really kind people. So hitchhiking, and besides that, I'm pretty cheap, so I don't know. I wouldn't say too many experiences that I felt I missed out on that I would do. But yeah, anything that gets me, I would like to do anything that gets me involved in the local culture and gets to know a country and the people within it is the things I would like to do.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it will be the last question regarding the trip. How has traveling the world changed your way of life?
I think traveling definitely taught me how important it is to slow down and to be present in the moment you're in. Part of my motivation for traveling was that no day is guaranteed, and that a lot of people encourage me to just wait till I'm older, or till I have more time, or till I have an education. But I'm really glad I did it now, because I learned so much and saw so much from the people that I met along the way, and got really inspired as well for film and photo. Wait, what was the question?
The question is that how has traveling the world changed your way of life?
Way of life. Okay, sorry, you can cut this part.
It's okay.
I think in other ways my way of life has changed because my perspective on the world has changed. When I go back home, it still feels like home, but it feels also foreign in a lot of ways, where when you return to somewhere, you start to question things like, why are we doing that? Like, is that the best way to do things? And because there's multiple ways to do things. I think I got much more of an open mind through traveling and seeing that my way is not the best way at all, it's just one way, and that I'm a product of the culture I grew up in, but that I can also change my mindset about things and learn from the people that I've encountered along the way. And yeah, I think traveling is really important to open your mind and to learn from people that grew up in a totally different environment than your own, and go back home with that same open mindset to see people around you and to learn from people around you, because all of those individuals are different and unique as well. And I think just seeing the way people cared for each other in so many places, especially here in Japan, like how people care for the elderly, how active the elderly are in everyday life. It's not, you don't see as many elderly people in the US, or if they are, they're like tucked away in a home. And here, yeah, just like I think every country I went to, every different region, I noticed so many different things that I want to remember, so I can keep reminding myself when I'm home back in like the comfortable culture that there's other and better and different ways of seeing and approaching things.
That's nice. From now on, I'll ask about your project. Why were you interested in becoming a documentary filmmaker in the future?
I think I got into film when I was in high school and started considering it as a career then. That I really like telling stories, telling real stories. I like the fiction side of it as well, and I hope to do some narrative work, because I think working with actors and being able to tell a story that is true and real, and bring that to life from just people is beautiful too. But I think the documentary side of things really interests me, because you get into places that you would normally never be really allowed in, kind of, because you're asking these deeply personal questions and you have the excuse of, oh, I'm making a film about it, and for some reason people respond to that and they let you into these like intimate and personal moments in their life, because I think people want their stories to be told too, because we want to be able to have people listen and hear us, and I think film is a really powerful medium of doing that. It can be engaging, it can be very creative, and it can go so many different ways. So I think I was drawn to film because of being able to make a change in the world and yeah, tell people stories as much as I can.
Oh, that's good. Are there any documentary films or directors that have influenced you?
For directors, I would say the most I could tell you is like some narrative directors. I like Yorgos Lanthimos a lot. He did like Poor Things, The Favorite, Kinds of Kindness, which are some of like top tier films. I love them so much, and it's all narrative fiction. But I think the kind of absurd and shocking way in which he does it is something different from a lot of the films I've seen that are just very entertainment based. I took a class on Spike Lee, who did like Do the Right Thing and did Malcolm X as well. Has some more newer ones as well, but I really like his form of storytelling that can be very like a very close look at a seemingly simple story, but the complexities of the characters are really beautiful in that, how he does the character development. I would say maybe I like Ari Aster. Ari Aster does like Midsummer, but I really like his film. I really like Midsummer. And Bong Joon-ho, I'm gonna say his name wrong, who did Parasite. Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know.
Bong Joon-ho. I'm gonna just go with the director.
It's a director in South Korea.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
I don't know the name.
Okay, it's Bong Joon-ho or something like that, but I'll just say I really like the director of Parasite as well, and some of his other films are really beautiful. I think same with that, the look at the characters is very complex, and just you're able to connect with the people and the characters in the film really deeply. And I think his look at just the daily lives of people and the story of especially Parasite is really, really interesting, but without his form of storytelling and how he portrays the landscape and the stories of these people is really beautiful. So these are all narrative directors, but I think there's most of the short documentary films I've seen are like indie filmmakers mostly, so I'm not really sure all of their work, but I think there's a lot of talented filmmakers out there, and it's not just an entertainment industry, but it can also be a very beautiful art form as well.
That's good. And what subject are you particularly interested in regarding to shoot documentaries?
I think while traveling I saw a lot of different stories that I would love to go back and tell. For example, in the US, when I was hiking, I hiked through a lot of burn zones from wildfires, so telling and seeing the towns that had also been completely burned by wildfires, and then the landscapes where you would be on top of this peak and all you could see for as far as you could see is just scorched earth everywhere. And I mean, wildfires are natural, but the extent they're happening in the US and elsewhere is not natural anymore. So I think capturing that both on film and photo, and I mean the landscapes are amazing, but and devastating as well, but the lives of the people who are affected by these wildfires, and I think that's a common theme throughout a lot of the stories I want to tell, is the people who are affected by the things that large corporations or large systemic issues cause that aren't in their control, but they are affected by. For example, the city I'm from, Seattle, has a large issue with homelessness, and it's mainly a drug issue with fentanyl and an addiction issue, but these people are living on the streets and it's normalized a lot of the time. On the whole west coast of the US, it's just normalized to see people slumped over in the street and to just, I don't know, you see them every day, so you just eventually walk past them and kind of look the other way. And I think the story of both how we look away from the things we don't want to see and the story of those people who have suffered so much from drug abuse that they are cast onto the street. Like here I could count on one hand the amount of homeless people I've seen, and as you've said, there's a good social support system here, welfare system. In the US there's not a good welfare system, obviously, so that is the consequence of it, is the amount of homelessness, the amount of drug abuse, the amount of people living in poverty and struggling to people struggling to make ends meet every day. So I think telling these stories of the individuals that we look past, but who still matter, they're still humans, but we're able to look over them because it becomes normalized. So yeah, the ones we look past.
That's good. And what do you think is most important in telling people's real stories?
I think there's a lot of things that are very important in being able to tell a real story. I think finding a balance between not making a profit off of somebody's struggles and somebody's suffering, but still being able to tell that story, but the intention behind it matters a lot. I think that you are there not to make a benefit from someone's suffering, but simply to raise awareness, to tell that story, to bring light to the injustice that they may be facing. I think also telling it from their perspective, and telling it from multiple perspectives is really important too. Telling it from the perspective of maybe someone who is the exploiter, or who is the one causing harm to another individual, because I think that is an interesting story as well. What has an abuser, an exploiter, someone who capitals off someone else's suffering, what have they gone through to get to that point? But then what is happening to the one who is being subjected to injustice or abused, and how can you tell that story through their eyes as well? So getting a broad view of things I think is very important, but also focusing on the very individualized stories within a broader subject.
So Natalie, please explain about your equipment to shoot videos and photos.
I don't have too fancy equipment, but I have a Fujifilm X-T3. It's really good for video. I also use it for photos. And then I have this little guy. It's a Samsung lens, BL1050. I like it's like really bad quality video, but I like it for certain, like for example, Lisa and I use this for a campaign for a jacket brand, and it just has really like old looking video quality, but can be really nice for certain things as well. So I would say I use them both equally. I like how this looks because it has more of a grainy look, but I'm hoping to get more into, I bought some film cameras here and I'm hoping to get more into film shooting. And yeah, so these are the cameras. It's less is more, but this one's a decent price, but this is super cheap and I love it just as much. So yeah.
It will be the last question.
Okay.
What kind of documentary films do you want to make in the future?
I would say the one I'm working on now is a profile. I was thinking of doing profiles on individuals throughout all of Japan, but I think going back home, I really want to just look around in my daily life and tell the stories of the people closest to me. I think the elderly people in my life, I think the elderly people in everyone's lives has a lot of important wisdom and important experiences to tell, but we often brush them aside. And especially in the US, I think people don't have a big relationship with grandparents who may be in ill health or with those who are aging. And I think it's important to sit down with those who've lived more life than we have and listen to their stories and learn from them. So I want to look at my family members around me and tell their stories and listen to what they have to say. And then another story I'd like to tell back in the US is with the wildfires, going and traveling to different areas that are affected by wildfires and telling the stories of the people who live with that fear of their home, their family, their livelihood burning down. And yeah, I think I just want to continue to tell stories as I travel as well, and take my camera with me, take whatever I have with me, because ultimately the gear doesn't really matter that much. I think the story, the individual, and telling the story in a true way is what matters the most.
That's great. Thanks for the all answers in detailed way you express about your opinions.
Yeah.
There is a lot of insight included it, and it will be great video.
Cool.
And good luck for your project and also your upcoming future travels.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.